announcement has been paid for by the New World Order.
You are now listening to Lucha Outsiders Show, available on iTunes, SoundCloud, and anywhere you listen to podcasts. At Lucha Outsiders everywhere: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, SoundCloud, and iTunes.
Lucha Outsiders Show.
Lucha.
This is how it feels to fuck on cocaine.
That is a disgusting act.
Yeah, rayo, bro. Puerto Rico de la casa. I'm Leo, that's Mario.
Have no fear. The sports entertainers are here. I am the heel, the seal, the deal, the villain, stay chillin', the anti-hero of the IWC, your boy, Mr. Radar. And we're joined by our tag team partner. He is the analysis of the LOC. He's the man that put the honor back in Ring of Honor. He's a straight shooter on Twitter. And when it comes to wrestling, he has a radar from the mean streets of Long Island. How come I don't hear anything?
I hear you, so.
What happened to the music? What happened to the gunshots?
There it is.
So you put... Oh, hold on, wait. Let me get this straight. Hold on.
You gotta bring the music down so you can have it.
No. Clearly, Leo never pays attention to anything. We normally hit the gunshots during the theme, but it came to a point where I just stopped hearing everything.
It's a long day.
Leo, put my volumes up, please.
Oh, they're up.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
Anyways, how are you guys doing?
After that, man, I don't know. But, yes, I'm doing good. How are you guys?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Coming from Backlash in El Barrio, watching that phenomenal pay-per-view last night.
Yeah.
Orgulloso de ser Latino. Is that how you say it, Leo?
Orgulloso, that was really close. I like it.
There you go.
Yeah,
Close
yeah.
enough. Same thing, but different.
Close enough to be rice.
There you go. There you go. Leo, how are you doing, man?
Hey, a rayo, estoy haciendo bien o no, Puerto Rico.
No!
Same.
I'm allowed to say that. No, I'm doing really good. I'm actually happy. I'm not going to lie. I actually love the LWO Puerto Rico shirt. Not going to lie. I think I'm going to cop it.
Yeah.
You should get it.
I definitely want to get the LWO shirt too, especially I want to get like the regular shirt, and I also want to get the tank top, especially because I'm going to Cancun later on this couple months.
You're a rep out there?
I'm going to rep out there. Latinos, bro. Viva la raza.
We always talk about Mexico being like a stronghold for wrestling, but we forget about Puerto Rico.
Dude.
Puerto Rico's been there. They've been there a while.
I do want to
starving.
I do want to talk about just kind of how sometimes like us in the States are just a bit ungrateful of like the stuff that we get compared to like other countries and like other places around the world. I do want to talk about when it comes to that to Backlash, but before we get started, it's hashtag Rebel time.
Yes, and it is hashtag coffee time for me because
Oh, there you go.
tired this morning.
Yeah, you got a good cup of Joe, your allergies are acting up, a little bit of congestion. Let's get that coffee in your system, bro. That caffeine.
Yeah, man. Yeah, got to start the day off though on the right foot.
Leo, are you alive over there?
Yeah, I'm over here. I'm changing the name of the show.
All right, just making sure you're okay, Leo.
No, I'm about to go upstairs in like 2 seconds, take a nap.
Okay, Leo, okay. All right, so let's talk about, I want to talk about Backlash. I want to talk about WWE in Puerto Rico. I just want to say, man, give it up to that fucking crowd in Puerto Rico and San Juan. Man, that crowd's energy was just fantastic. And, of course, we see that in other places around the world, too, especially like in the UK. WWE just toured France over last weekend, and apparently the energy there was just so fucking live. And, just watching all this shit and just hearing the reaction from the audience, it really makes you feel. And listen, I respectfully, I'll say that myself and you and your brother and Leo, when he does go to shows and stuff, for the most part, we react at shows. Like, we react, we have fun. We're not dickhead fans, okay? But sometimes I do feel, especially out here in the States, the audience at times are ungrateful with what we get. We get a lot of wrestling, man. And we're just too busy on, like, tribalism. Oh, did you see that shot that they threw? I like this promotion better than the other one. Why did this person go to this promotion? I hope that promotion fails. Like, that's a piece of shit attitude to have. I think we should all, like, just enjoy wrestling. And that Puerto Rican audience was, like, a prime example of that.
Yeah, dude. I mean, yeah, I couldn't have said it any better. We are very spoiled out here. We get everything mostly. There's a lot of wrestling, all the different promotions obviously run shows all across the United States over here. So, yeah, we are 100% spoiled. And, man, like, after last night, dude, I would love to take a trip, an international trip for one of these shows.
1,000%.
You kind of know what you're getting, man. It's just like a party over there, Like, there was no way in hell that show was going to be bad at all. Like, it doesn't matter what type of card that they threw out there. The crowd was going to make sure they had a great time, and they were going to make sure that show, was memorable, and it really was. Just unbelievable atmosphere. They've been starving for wrestling for a while. Like a pay-per-view for a while, because I know, like you just said, WWE does tour. All these international places and stuff, but they go there for the live house shows. It's definitely not the same as like a premium live event, a pay-per-view, whatever you want to call it. But man, yeah, that crowd made that show last night. And somebody brought up a good point on Twitter last night when I was like scrolling through after the show was over. One person said like that show would not have been as good in the States. And I kind of agree with that. I mean, I just feel like that show was really made mostly because of how amazing that crowd was all night from start to finish, even on SmackDown too.
Yeah, 1,000%.
That crowd was so freaking hot. It just made for just a fun show, and at home you could feel the energy just watching at home, and it was amazing, man. I love how they did, WWE went to Cardiff last year, and now they went here to Puerto Rico. They're going to London for Money in the Bank, man. I just love all these international shows because, man, I just enjoy watching them on TV, and I can't imagine what it's like actually being there.
My buddy Xavier, he took him and his girlfriend. They actually went to Puerto Rico this weekend.
Really?
They went
That's
to SmackDown
awesome.
and they went to Backlash, and they kind of just made like a little mini vacation out of it. So we were messaging back and forth real quick last night. It was right after the Bad Bunny and Damian Priest match, and he was like, "Bro, that was insane." I was like, "Dude, I was popping at home. I could only imagine the energy in that arena," and they reacted to everything. I think even after that Bad Bunny match, right? And we're gonna break down the card. You could tell like that peak, that energy was peaked at that point. So it was noticeably a little bit down during the 6-man, but they still was reacting to everything. It's not like they were quiet. They were just noticeably down a little bit, but they were still reacting to everything. And man, I can't think of besides like the UK shows, I can't really think of an audience that were like legit hot from the start all the way to the end of the show.
Yeah. Let me tell you, they should have main evented with that Bad Bunny match.
Absolutely, 1,000%.
I don't understand the decision. And like I don't know how you feel about this, but and I know they do this all the time. Not even just WWE, like every promotion does this, where it's like they have a hot like main event, or like, all right, so they were dubbing this last night as a double main event, right? That's all I've been seeing on.
But it wasn't
Twitter.
a semi-main event, because
yeah, right. But then you have something so hot like that, and then you have the 6-man, and then you have the main event. Like, why couldn't we just go from the Bad Bunny right into the main event? Like, why do we need a cool down? Like, I just feel like that always kills any momentum you have. And this is not obviously bashing any of those 6 guys that wrestled in
no, because the match was
I
good.
The match was fine.
Right.
But I just think the match order is a little odd, like if you're dubbing it as a double main event, we'll do one right after the other. And again, man, the fact that they did a main event with Bad Bunny, and that's basically what this event was built around, it was a little questionable, in my opinion, because, we'll get more into it, obviously, but the way the show ended, very, very anticlimactic, I felt like. And, overall, while I thought the show was really, really good, I just feel like, man, you go off the air after that Bad Bunny thing, yo, you send those fans home on such a
Right.
freaking high, and like even at
1000%.
home, you're just like, you know the feeling of when you watch just a kick-ass pay-per-view and it goes off the air, and you're just like walking around your house or doing whatever, and you're just like you can't fall asleep after. You're just like, holy shit, that was awesome. I didn't get that after the show was over. I would have had they put the Bad Bunny match on last. So that was a little strange, but yeah, I mean, from start to finish, the crowd was just very, very hot, and rightfully so, man. They've been waiting a long time for this.
Especially even going back to SmackDown. SmackDown was a fun show, but
Yeah,
man, just seeing like just the faces like in the crowd and how they were literally like they were there just to have a great time. It felt
that's
like,
it, man.
and you
A
said
big
it
party.
too, right? A big party. It had like a party atmosphere, especially how WWE also set up everything too. It was very different compared to other shows. Like the
Yeah.
ramp was very similar to this year's Royal Rumble.
Yeah,
Also, they kept on using like what do you call them gimmicks?
drone.
A drone that were
Yeah.
like, I think even last night it started like they were outside, the drone goes into the venue,
So
and then you
cool.
just see
Yeah.
the fucking shot of the whole arena.
Mhm.
Listen, I think next time they go to Puerto Rico, I think they should do a stadium, bro. And we were talking about elimination
Do they
chamber.
have one over there?
I believe they do have a stadium. We were talking about how Toronto deserves like a WrestleMania or like a Big Four pay-per-view. I think we
Yeah.
need to throw Puerto Rico in that same list as well. They deserve
Yeah.
like a major, like, don't get me wrong, Backlash did feel like a big deal, right? Clearly we're like raving about it, but I think they deserve like a Big Four, like a SummerSlam. Like imagine SummerSlam in a barrio. Like that would be so
Yeah.
dope.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, it's just crazy how like Triple H takes over and they're doing all these like international pay-per-views and stuff. They haven't really done this at all over the years, and I mean, I don't know how it can continue. I mean, it's got to have been so successful. I mean, this past weekend was probably super successful there for WWE in terms of revenue and all that type of stuff. And even when they went to Cardiff for the Clash at the Castle last year, I mean, that had to be super successful. So, I mean, I just hope they do more of these shows, man. I mean, as a fan who lives here in the U.S., I hope they do more
Yeah,
over
me
there
too.
because I really just enjoy watching them. And hey, who knows, man? I'd love to take a trip over there, anywhere, to see one of these shows, man. I'm not doing it, but when they announced Money in the Bank for London, they
Mhm.
announced this like last year. I was like, oh man, I would love to go to
Right.
London, England, man, and that just I'm sure that crowd for that show will be awesome. Even for AEW's All In at
Yep.
Wembley, that's going to be an amazing atmosphere. So yeah, I mean, it's just like I hope these fans overseas get more of these shows regularly instead of the house shows. Because I mean,
Right.
the house shows are fun, but they just obviously don't hit like a big major pay-per-view would, and not that Backlash is even a major pay-per-view, but
But
this year
it felt like a big deal. It felt like a
this
major
year
big
it
deal.
was. Yeah. So I hope for those fans' sake, man, they definitely deserve it. And yeah, man, I just hope Triple H continues to really just send them over there and give them these shows because they deserve it. They've shown they deserved it at this point.
Speaking of Triple H, he's also, and we were saying this off air, how since SummerSlam of last year and on, every pay-per-view hasn't missed. Every pay-per-view has
Yeah.
delivered. Regardless of how you feel about like outcomes of like matches and stuff, like the pay-per-views have been amazing.
Yeah. The wrestling is always solid. I mean, even some of the matches on this card, last night that I didn't really even expect to be that great ended up being pretty good. It just feel like and when especially in front of that crowd too and that atmosphere, it pushes all these talents to raise everything to the next level. I mean, how can you not go out there and feel the crowd and not want to raise the bar and have a kick-ass match and bump all over the place for
Right.
them. I mean, it's just like it's got to make those talents raise their game up a lot too. So that's yeah. I mean, it was just an awesome night, man. I couldn't stop watching the clips of these entrances and
Mhm.
how electric the crowd was. I mean, Bad Bunny's entrance was unfreaking real, man.
Yeah.
I mean, like. Dude had like a concert walking out there,
Dude,
bro, and
the-
everybody's singing the song. It's just
Word
like crazy.
for word, bro.
Yeah, just
That-
awesome. Just so like literally gives you chills watching
Mhm.
from home. This is awesome.
And you could also see it from the talent's perspective as well. Like if you like, you could tell like even SmackDown that bled into Backlash, how like the wrestlers, the talent were so excited to be there too, because this is not a place that they go there often. So
Yeah.
I guess like they're reacting from the energy that the crowd is giving them, and you could tell like how pumped up they were.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, that energy is infectious, man. Like I said, I don't know how you don't go out there and just feel something so different. They definitely do. And obviously they travel all over the place, and
Mhm.
that definitely had to hit different, especially for people like like we saw Zelina Vega get very very emotional. That
Ugh.
was quite the moment. Rey Mysterio and all the LWO guys and I mean, yeah, unbelievable. It's crazy.
I do want to talk about LWO and just them going forward, but let's break down most of these matches on this card. So it was a 7-match card. They opened up with my favorite match of the night. I think when it comes to a wrestling standpoint, this was the best match. I added this match to my list, and it was Bianca Belair and Io Sky. This match was just fucking fantastic. Io Sky is super over in Puerto Rico to the
Yeah.
point where like, there was some heat on Bianca, man, and for this crowd, I necessarily didn't dislike it. I did like the fact that Bianca had to kind of deal with this. I don't see this happening going forward, but who knows? Maybe it does, right? But man, this match was fantastic. It felt like an NXT takeover match, to be quite honest, especially
Yeah,
with
yep.
both their previous history. There were some shenanigans at the end, but even with those shenanigans, it just took away nothing from the match with Damage Control interfering and stuff. And I think Io Sky might eventually break off of Damage Control, and she might go on a singles run here, man. I think she's super over. Even leading up to Backlash, even back here in the States, you have been getting some pops for Io Sky, and she's always been a great wrestler. It's just her booking since she's been called up with Damage Control has been, I'm not gonna say it's been terrible, but she's been more of a not a featured role. She's been more of a supporting cast member, right? And I think you should take advantage of like this energy that she has right now, and maybe she should just break off the Damage Control and just kind of do her own thing.
Yeah, I mean, she absolutely should. She's, I felt like it was only a matter of time before she did, but after this, after how much the crowd was behind her here, I think that should be an eye opener. And I don't think Triple H knows that too, how obviously talented she is and how great she is. And, her being in Damage Control was a way to kind of introduce her, I feel like, to this new audience because, some people don't watch NXT. They only watch the main roster. So it was a way to bring her up with Bayley and kind of groom her a little bit, get her over on TV and stuff like that. And then it was only a matter of time before she breaks away and becomes a huge single star. So, yeah, I think it's only a matter of time, especially after this. Tremendous talent. Bianca Belair, too. I mean, I know she got booed and stuff. I'd like to think the fans there weren't booing her
Right.
because they actually, I don't think they actually dislike her. They probably just wanted to see a new champ or something like that because Bianca Belair is just absolutely out of this world, incredible.
Because they popped during her entrance. They popped for her entrance. I think
Yeah.
they really just wanted EO to win,
Yeah. Just incredible performers, really, just unbelievable at what they do. Bianca Belair now the longest reigning women's champ of the modern era, I think it is. So good for her, just incredible. Now the big question comes, like we talked about last week, what you do with the titles. So it's like, congratulations, Bianca, you're the longest reigning champion of the modern era. Now we're going to take this belt off you and give you another belt, and now you're going to start from zero again. Because they can't pretend like she's like still this reigning champ when she has a different belt than she's been holding for the past year.
So I'm glad you bring that up, and let's just put a pause on Backlash for a quick second because I think this is the best way to blend this in since we're talking about championships, right? So I had to explain to my cousin, right, who I guess the best way to put it, he used to follow wrestling back when we were kids or whatever. And he kind of fell off, and now he's getting back into it, right? So I had to explain to him like how technically there's 3 world titles now, right? I had to kind of explain to him the whole thing, and then shouts to my buddy Kevin, right, one of my best friends in life. He goes like, I'm so confused. Why is there a tournament match on SmackDown if it's for it's a Raw title? And I'm like, because it's WWE. Not everything's gonna make sense, okay?
Dude,
and I'm like, listen, this is coming from the same company that could have avoided all of this shit if they would have just never put both titles on Roman or taken one of those titles off of him a long time ago. Like, it's just typical WWE booking. So I don't necessarily hate that we're getting tournament matches on both shows, but I kind of wish, like, if you're gonna do that, maybe we would have extended like this whole brand separation till after Night of Champions or something, like push it back like another month. Like,
Or even just explain something like, have Triple H go, yes, there is going to be matches on SmackDown with SmackDown people to determine a new world champion, and if a SmackDown
Right.
competitor wins, then they automatically go to Raw. Like, just say
yeah,
something like
say
that.
something like that, right?
Instead of having us just assume that that's going to
Right.
be the case.
Right.
But I've come to this conclusion a long time ago, but I think after everything that's been happening with the draft, like I went off last week about how SmackDown doesn't draft their own champion, Rhea Ripley, and then this, I'm just under the impression that WWE, and I've just accepted it, that they are just never going to make sense. Like, there's a few things they're going to do.
That is a disgusting act.
And there's just no way to explain it. There's no reason to get mad over it because they just do what they want to do. And it just comes out of nowhere. And this is just how it is, I just kind of accepted it at this point. They just don't make sense in certain situations.
Yeah. It's I think maybe that's what it is too. Maybe they just expect us to assume like, oh, if a SmackDown guys wins, he'll automatically be drafted to Raw. But like, just say it, right? I think
no, it doesn't. It wouldn't kill them.
Right, just say it. Just like going back to what I said before, like, okay, you're introducing the big gold belt, the World Heavyweight Championship, right? Clearly, we're just assuming, right? But we're assuming that's going to have the same lineage as the NWA, WCW, back when they brought it back in 2002 in the Ruthless Aggression era, etc., right? That's what we're assuming, right? If that is the case, if we're bringing another world title, then can you please tell us what's up with Roman's titles? Are we unifying those lineage? Because like I said last week, nobody gives a fuck about the Universal title brand. That title, nobody gives a shit about. Let's unify those lineage too.
Yeah, I guess until they say something like that, we're just gonna assume it because again, that's just I guess what they want us to do, or they have no idea themselves. I don't know. But now that everything's gonna take effect after now it's post Backlash. It's when the roster is supposed to be taken into effect. We're gonna get the new world champ. Roman Reigns is back next week. You can see who's next challenger is. We'll see if we get some answers behind that. I don't expect them to explain these things, but I don't know. It's going to get interesting from here because I'm really curious to see what they do with the women's titles, especially. And, they haven't really said anything about it. So, and we still got Bianca and Rhea as champions on different brands.
Yep.
Then they're the champions for. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. So, this is a match that nobody, in theory, nobody really give a shit about going into. And this is Seth Rollins versus Omos, right? But I will say this. I'm not a fan of Omos, right? I'm not saying he's not a great guy. He could be a great guy. He seems like a great guy, but he's just a tall giant that it is what it is, right?
Mm.
Seth Rollins actually pulled a good match out of this guy.
Yeah, I mean,
Listen,
Seth Rollins can pull a good match out of a broomstick.
Listen, it wasn't Brock Lesnar. It wasn't Bobby Lashley. Seth freaking Rollins pulled a fucking good match out of this fucking guy, man. Yeah. And I was telling you this before we hit record. The end spot was after I think it was 2 or 3 different curb stomps and Omos kept on kicking out. This guy goes on the top rope. And when I saw him do that, I'm like, this guy's going to fucking do a curb stomp off the top of the rope. I was cringing to see this spot because when you're hitting that move, you're landing now with just one leg. One mispositioning there, so many things could go wrong. So yeah. I was like a nervous wreck watching that spot. But fortunately, everything came out fine. It visually looked great, but I'm just more concerned of the talent. This guy could severely hurt himself. But everything came out good. Seth Rollins came out looking like a champ. He beats Omos. And one thing I noticed, and this is kind of going back to what I was telling you, how the talent were so excited to be there too, because they normally don't go to these places on a regular basis. At the end of the match, when Seth Rollins is celebrating with the crowd and he's walking down the ramp, the camera is just looking at Seth Rollins, and he legit has such an organic smile on his face. Just hearing the audience doing the whoa, he just looks so fucking happy. And I don't know, man. When I see moments like that, I don't know. It just makes me really man. It's such a cool visual to see.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that Rollins curb stomp looked awesome visually. It really did. I mean, and like you said, a lot can go wrong in this match. Especially in a spot like that. We saw an example of Seth Rollins, landing on his knee
Yep.
at one point. This was years ago when he had to relinquish the world title. It was at some house show, and a lot can go wrong in that spot. And can you imagine Rollins getting seriously injured in a freaking match against Omos that he really didn't even need to be in the first place? But thankfully, like you said, everything came out fine. The match was what it was, and now we can move on. And Seth Rollins has got to be a front runner to win this World Heavyweight title. I think it's
1000%.
pretty obvious.
1000%.
And yeah, I mean, going to that camera shot with the visual of him smiling, stuff like that. Just going back to what we were saying before, it's like, again, how could you not go out there and feel that energy? And yeah, I mean, of course, it makes you smile. It makes you just want to go out there, and it makes you just probably want to never leave. Like Rollins probably didn't want to leave the ring, or to go into the back. Like I'm sure a lot of the talents felt that way, like where like, man, they wish they could be out there all night with this crowd. So yeah, very, very cool to see that. And like I said, it shows how much of an influence the crowd has on these shows.
We had the three-way for the United States Championship: Austin Theory against Bobby Lashley and Bronson Reed. This match was fine. It was a short match, though. I think it was like barely like 7 minutes. And Austin Theory just stole the win. Very similar to Survivor Series, except the Survivor Series triple threat match was actually a bit longer. But this match, Austin Theory just sneaks a win. And listen, I don't know how to explain like the positioning of Austin Theory now, because I don't think he's like in a terrible position, but he's not in a position either where it's kind of cultivating, right? Like, it's like he's in a weird state where it's like, I don't hate Austin Theory, and I think the audience feels this way too. I don't necessarily hate this guy, but I can't say I care about this guy either. And I'm really curious to see what they do with him later on in his career, like a year from now, whatever, where if they keep on putting steam on him and they want to elevate him, are like the fan base really going to care about this guy? I just don't see it happening, at least not yet, But, Austin Theory picked up the win, and the match was fine. It is what it is,
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't really, I mean, I don't really know what to think. I don't really know what to say. I mean, Austin Theory's on this run with the U.S. title. It hasn't really been good. I just feel like there's really no reason to care. I don't know. Coming off a win against John Cena at WrestleMania, you would think from here on out this guy's going to be a superstar, and he's just the same guy. It's like he didn't even face John Cena.
You could make the argument that after that Cena match, his stock probably went down.
yeah. I mean, it's weird. I'm in the same boat. I don't dislike him, but I also don't love watching him either.
You just don't care.
Just there.
You just don't care.
Yeah, he's just there weekly, and yeah, I don't know. Like you said, the match was what it was. It was against two opponents that I don't really like. I haven't really been following the story. I was just telling you before. I haven't really been watching much of the weekly TV products. I don't really know how this match really came about to begin with. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't really seem like anybody's coming after Austin Theory and has a legit shot to win this belt. I just don't really know. I don't know where it's going to go. I don't know. I just weird booking with Austin Theory, and even going. Again, this has been going on for over a year now with him. It's just like. He picks up some steam and then he loses it. Maybe picks up a little bit for a short period of time, loses it. It's just it's weird, man.
We're about to hit a year, okay, where Austin Theory just got thrown into this Money in the Bank match and he won it.
Yeah.
And the crowd went silent. They didn't even boo Austin Theory. They just didn't care.
Yeah.
They just didn't care. And now, fast forward a year later, in theory, no pun, he picks up the biggest win in his career at WrestleMania, and still nobody gives a shit about him.
Yeah. And that's all on WWE. That's all on the creative team. That's not even on Austin Theory. Mm-hmm. It's just, they really don't seem like they got much for this guy right now. I mean, they bill him as the next John Cena, or some people do at least. And I don't really know like where that comes from, because I mean, sure, he could talk, and sure, he's good in the ring. But if you don't book him right creatively, then none of that stuff matters, Yeah. So, I don't know. He's kind of just there weekly. He's kind of holding the U.S. title. And it's just kind of just like, well, I don't really know what to think about this. I don't really know where it's going. I don't really, he's kind of, every time he comes out, it's like, it makes me want to change the channel, and I hate to say that, but
really
no reason to care.
Yeah, I don't care about Austin Theory. This is something I do care about, and that's Rhea Ripley defending the SmackDown title against Zelina Vega. First of all, Rhea Ripley, let me tell you, man. Her outfit last night, whoo! Man. Speechless. But Rhea Ripley looked great. And Zelina Vega also looked great. And just the ovation she got. So when she was coming down, I was just, just covered in the Puerto Rican flag.
Yeah.
Just seeing the reaction she was getting from the audience. Like, even walking down, I'm like, how is this girl, like, holding back tears? And then the second she got in the ring and they were doing the announcement, I said everything was just balling. Her family was there front row. And listen, I think we all knew, right, that she wasn't going to win this match. But with that being said, that does not mean that what we saw last night, that match with Rhea, the match was fine, but just the moment, that was still one of the biggest moments in her whole career. Just being there in front of the Puerto Rican crowd and getting that ovation that she got even after the match. And I just go back and I think about, like, just how she started. I remember seeing this girl first time in TNA. She was, I believe her name was Rosita in TNA. And yeah, she had like a tag team run, with the women's tag titles at the time, and then just bouncing around in the indies. And then she goes to WWE, and, everybody knows her story about her father passing away on 9/11. And, she's a fucking New Yorker. Okay. She's one of us. Right. And she loves like nerd culture, like video games and anime and stuff like that. And that's another thing that's like very relatable with her. And just her love for wrestling and how much she grew up on Rey Mysterio. And now she's in the same stable with him. And this weekend they all got like LWO tattoos, which I think is so dope. And, she finally getting spotlight. And I think this is like the first time, at least WWE wise, where she's getting showcased as like as a baby face, and just seeing this all come together. Now she's in her home, her second home, if you will. Cause I believe she was born in New York, but this, she's Puerto Rican though, right? So she's in her fucking homeland getting this ovation from her people. Her family's right in the front row. I could only imagine like all these different like things that are coming across her head, like thinking about her dad and just thinking about all the trials and tribulations she went through in her whole career. What an incredible moment for her. So even with defeat, she still came out on top.
Yeah, the match was almost secondary, or it should have at least been for her, because it was just really about the moment that she soaked up during her entrance. I mean, before the bell even rang. And then, of course, after the match, too. I mean, it doesn't matter that she lost. It doesn't matter that the match was like, 5 minutes long. None of that matters, man. The moment that the crowd gave her is something that she'll always remember for the rest of her life. And like you said, probably the biggest moment of her career. And good for her, because you think back and, you're talking about the video game stuff. You think back to only a few years ago, man, where she got released for standing up for herself and not wanting to give up the Twitch channel and things like that. Gets released, and there's a big outrage from everybody online about it, stuff like that. And then eventually she, comes back, and, everybody's like, oh my God, why would she go back? Why would she do this? Blah, blah, blah. She's an idiot. She should have stand her ground, this and that. And look where she is now, man. And like you said, being with her childhood hero, Rey Mysterio, like, I mean, just crazy full circle moment for her, man. Like, you can't not be happy for her. Right. Just a really, really cool moment to see. And, you could see the emotion obviously in her face too. It's hard to really not feel that, while watching it, even at home.
Right. Yeah. Listen, that was, it was like, we talk about secondary. Even Rhea's win felt secondary. She was a champion, right? She defended her title successfully, and she walked away. The moment was more about Zelina Vega.
Well, that's just the thing, man. I mean, Rhea wins. She gets out of the ring, and again, it was obviously, it was supposed to happen that way, where Zelina got the last hurrah from the crowd. She was in there by herself, and yeah, like I said, like the match was completely secondary. It doesn't really matter anything of it, Like I don't even know if like Zelina herself wrestling in the match will remember any of the moves she hit or anything from that. She's just gonna remember the reaction she got before and after. So, with her family there too, it's just yeah, man, it gives you goosebumps and chills, and to see that, it was just a really, really beautiful moment.
It really was. It really was. So they panned out. So I don't know if you have like Peacock, like premium or whatever it is, the regular one. I have the regular one, so I don't.
I got the one with the freaking ads.
Yeah, that's the one I have. So I don't see none of like the recap of like how it leads to this match or whatever. So I get the commercial, whatever. So then boom, I hear Damian Priest music. I'm like, I thought this was like a semi-main. Like, what happened here? Like, did I miss something? Did I miss the 6-man tag? What the fuck happened? So, the Damian Priest comes out, and even with him, right? He's a heel, but he's Puerto Rican. You can also tell with him, he was soaking up like the crowd because like he just paused for a second, and before he did like his usual pose where he pays like homage, like a little homage to Scott Hall and shit, like he kind of just stood there for like a quick second and just soaked it all in before he just kept on walking. So I thought that was like a really cool moment for him. And then fucking Bad Bunny, bro. This fucking guy. You want to talk about a rock star? That's fucking Bad Bunny. I said it in a post last night. Listen, if you still don't get why Bad Bunny's a big deal, if you still don't get it, one, you're just not paying attention and you're fucking ignorant. This has nothing to do with you liking his music. This has nothing to do if you don't speak Spanish or you're not Latino. It has nothing to do with that. If you don't see the passion this guy has for wrestling, this is a mainstream star around the whole world, all right? Not just for Latinos, all right? This guy was in, what is the gala? What is that shit called? Oh,
Met Gala?
The Met Gala. This guy was there, okay? Doing all these big events. This guy headlined Coachella like earlier this month. This guy's like a mainstream star. And him wrestling, he doesn't do it for the money. I'm sure he gets paid well, but he does it for a passion because he loves it. If you don't get that, even Duke is pissed off about it. If you don't get that, you're just not paying attention. Like that, Puerto Rico showed you last night how much of a big deal he is. I just loved it. I loved this before the match even started.
Yeah, it was unreal. I mean, the way he comes out, again, I think I said this to you off air, or not. I just said it before. Like it was like a legit concert.
Yeah.
Like they were singing every single lyric to his entrance music. Just the way he walks out with that swagger. Yeah, dude, this guy is a mega star, man. And I will admit, I was one of those people when he first came in. It was WrestleMania 37. He had that tag match with Damian Priest and The Miz and John Morrison. I didn't get it. I didn't understand it. They were selling the Bad Bunny T-shirts in Tampa when I was there. I didn't get it. They were all selling out. People were wearing them. I didn't get it. Because I don't really listen to that type of music. I mean, all the words are in Spanish, so I don't. I mean, dude, now I'm like, well, those songs are bop, okay? But back then, I didn't understand any of this. But man, you couldn't have said it any better. It's like if you don't get it now. I mean, I got it right away, right after the match at WrestleMania 37 when he had that killer match. And then
you were there. You were there live.
Yep. And everything that, I looked up, how, big of a star he is in the music industry, then I immediately got it. And again, even if you were skeptical up until this point, after last night, like I said, if you still don't get it, you still don't get why they bring him in and why he, does what he does, then you're never going to understand it. I mean, that entrance alone just shows how big of a megastar he is. And not to mention what he did in the ring.
Yes.
He's so much fun to watch. I want more of this guy. I don't want him just coming once a year. I want him coming more like a Logan Paul type deal where he's on every major.
Yeah, I love that, bro. I love that.
I think he's so much fun to watch, man. And like you said, his passion for it. I mean, God, how could you not tell how passionate this guy is? He's not doing it for the money. Just like Logan Paul. Again, that's why I respect these two guys. They're not doing this for the money. They're not, They're not somebody like Johnny Knoxville who's just going to come in and, again, whether Johnny Knoxville had passion for it or not.
Right, and even with Johnny, and even with the Johnny Knoxville and Sami Zayn stuff, that stuff was great too. I think
it was great.
With WWE, right.
It seemed like more so he came in for the paycheck and stuff like that. And then, he has no real interest in doing this, full time or anything. But these two guys are the prime example of celebrities turned wrestler that are just like, nobody saw this coming, how successful these two guys are. It's incredible. It really is. I mean, I expected this to be good. I didn't expect this to be as good as it ended up being.
Dude, this match was so fucking entertaining, and it was everything it needed to be. And then just going back to about like these outsiders, if you will, that come into WWE or just in wrestling and that they do like a match or whatever. Like Bad Bunny's not slacking in there. Granted, he had an amazing dance partner with Damian Priest, and let's not discredit him either.
Yes.
But he was the perfect foe for Bad Bunny, and Bad Bunny didn't slack in there. This guy was taking bumps. I'm seeing this guy like, yo, man, after that one spot, like when they were in outside, that table spot where he just hits the Damian Priest hits the broken arrow on Bad Bunny from like the little platform gimmick to the tables. I'm like, yo, this Bad Bunny's gonna break something. We're not gonna see him in concert for like, I don't know how long.
That's the thing. It's like this guy doesn't have to be doing this because, like you said, Coachella, the Met Gala. Sure, he's got a bunch of other things lined up this year, and the fact that he still had time to train for this match, and he's doing these bumps, and he's not like, he's not phoning it in or anything like that. I mean, Jesus Christ, man. Again, how do you not respect the hell out of that? This guy doesn't need to do this shit. He's got so much freaking money. He does it for the passion because he loves it. I mean, yeah, that's just it. That's a great point. It's just like, my goodness, man. This guy could tear his ACL, okay? And there goes everything else he does for the rest of the year. Not even just in wrestling, but in general.
But you know what? If he tears his ACL, I would not be shocked. He's still out there in concert in a wheelchair, and he'll sell out concert in a wheelchair. He'll definitely do it.
Probably would. But I mean, the risk that he takes every single time, it's just, yeah, man, it's inspiring. It really is. It's crazy to see. And yeah, I'm glad you brought up Damian Priest too, being the perfect opponent for him. He deserves a lot of credit for this too, because a lot of times when guys are in there like this, and obviously they're in this spot to just put the other guy over and just obviously lose or whatever, it didn't even matter in Damian Priest's case because he came out of this a bigger star, I feel like,
1000%.
too. I mean, just WWE putting him in the spot, trusting him to protect Bad Bunny and everything like that shows a lot. It really does. And I think this guy deserves his flowers, and from here on out should be booked, like a real superstar, because he was just perfect in this match as well.
I look at Damian Priest and I'm like, man, just a couple of years ago, this guy was like in Ring of Honor. And I'm looking at this guy now. He's in a main event with Bad Bunny. Holy shit! What a turn of events for this guy, man. And
I buried him when he left Ring of Honor because I thought he left way too soon. I was like, this guy just cares about the money and just wants to go to WWE for all this. He doesn't really want to hone his craft, and he should have spent more time there. He could have been Ring of Honor World Champ. I buried him a lot when he just ran over to WWE. I didn't think he was ready. And I'm glad I'm eating my words, man, because he's shown up and showed out, especially on the main roster, man, and even in NXT. He's become one of their, I don't want to say top stars, but
he's
one
up there.
guy they could always trust to go in there and deliver. So
listen, I got a better one for you. I was never a fan of Punishment Martinez. I'm like, if you don't get this fake Roman Reigns out of fucking Ring of Honor, I did not like him. I didn't like him at all. And then he goes to WWE, and you start seeing the character development with him. And I'm like, okay, now I get it. Now I see it. So, if anything, I'm more of a Damian Priest guy than a fucking Punishment Martinez guy.
Yeah, me too, mate. Me too. Yeah, I didn't really care much about him either. I just, hey, sometimes it, like I said, guys know what they're doing, and he knew what he was doing by leaving Ring of Honor, going to WWE, and I don't know if it's the Performance Center there or the developmental or what, but he's turned his game around, done a complete 180, and yeah, I'd like to see this guy. I'd like to see him featured in the World Heavyweight Title tournament and make it far, man. Even semifinal. Well, they're not really doing that tournament like that. I was gonna say make it to semifinals.
And
you
got like Finn too in it, so I'm sure Finn's gonna be in it.
Yeah, but either way, man, I think from here on out he should be featured in a bigger way, in a bigger spot, because he deserves it.
I agree. So there was some shenanigans, and I mean shenanigans like in a good way. There was some interference from Judgment Day with Finn and Dominic, and then you saw Rey Mysterio come out, and then you hear Carlito's music. I fucking jumped off my seat. I was like, Carlito! Rocking an LWO shirt. I popped so huge for Carlito. Listen, growing up, when Carlito first made his debut, when he beat John Cena first night for the United States title, I'm like, yo, this guy's gonna be, this is my guy right here. And then then he wins like the IC title the first time when he gets drafted to Raw. I thought this guy could have been world champion. Now, granted, that didn't happen. But man, during the Ruthless Aggression era, those mid-2000s, I thought Carlito could have been right there with John Cena. I really thought he had all the potential to be world champion. The man looks great. He doesn't age.
Huge.
Oh, man. I don't care. Listen, you know what? You need to sign him to a contract, draft him to SmackDown, and beat Austin Theory on SmackDown. That's what you need. That's what you need to do with Carlito, bro. But you see Carlito coming out, the rest of the LWO, Savio Vega, fucking Puerto Rican wrestler legend. I just loved the whole thing. And then at the end of the match, when Bad Bunny beats Damian Priest, you see all the LWO together, man. Oh, man, what a moment, bro. I just love that because, yeah, they're in Puerto Rico. I understand that, right? But when you see something like that, you kind of feel like, especially for me as like a Latino, you feel like this was like a win and a celebration for all Latinos, right? Because you have like all these different like cultures and all these different countries, you know, Mexico, etc. They're all together. They're repping the LWO. You see the Puerto Rican flag. Like, I just love shit like that, dude. And I don't know if you noticed, but there's been reports like the LWO merch has been like selling like crazy.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
And that's why I wanted to mention, like, I haven't necessarily, while they're getting spotlighted a lot, you got to rack up some wins on the stable. If they're like a hot merch seller, you got to give them some wins. Like, they can't be losing every match. Now, granted, yeah, I know Bad Bunny won, and technically he's like LWO also, but like, I'm talking about like the main guys. Like, let's give like Santos Escobar like some wins. Like, hey, why not have him beat Austin Theory for the United States title? Like let's, because clearly they're getting reactions. You have Rey Mysterio, which is like the legend, right? That's attached to them. Like, yes, let's give some wins to these guys, man, because like clearly, like the fans are behind this group.
Yeah, it's a hot group right now, dude. Dude, LWO, baby, greater than the Bullet Club, man. It's becoming greater than the Bullet Club.
Wow, what a hot take!
Yeah.
What a hot take!
Yeah, dude, I listen. I ain't Latino or anything like that, but I dig this stable, man. I mean, it's great to see Legado del Fantasma come up and immediately have something to do. And obviously, I'm sure they were big fans of Rey Mysterio growing up, just like Zelina Vega. Now that they get to work with him and be in the stable with him, yeah, I mean, I'm sure in Puerto Rico this past weekend, those shirts were flying off the freaking shelves. And I'm sure in the States too, it's the same exact way. It's, dude, it's, yeah, that. Listen, last night, you know, it's like some people say, oh, this stuff's overbooked. But, man, that was overbooked in the best way possible.
1000%.
Everything that happened with Carlito coming out to that monstrous pop. I don't think this guy has ever gotten a pop like that in his entire life.
Insane.
He looks huge. I mean, we saw him at the Rumble, but he looks freaking jacked. Okay, like he's just unbelievably huge.
Really good.
I mean, like, I don't know if they've offered him a contract or not. I don't know if he's as interested.
Sign him. Sign Carlito.
Yeah, even if not, have him do a couple of appearances, be a part of the show. Do like what a Shelton Benjamin does. He's on contract. He's on the show. He also maybe helps out backstage, and he's an agent or something like that.
Throw him in the LWO. Like, come on, what?
Right.
It just
like,
makes
why
sense.
The hell not? Yeah, why not? Savio Vega, man, that was an unbelievable pop, and I'm sure it had to be a cool moment for Dom and Finn too to get beat up by him, and yeah, just the whole entire thing was just awesome, and really just I think this weekend obviously established the LWO as a legit faction in the WWE, and I think moving forward, yeah, I agree. You got to give these guys something, man. It's crazy. I've always been a fan of Santos Escobar. I think he's phenomenal.
Me too.
The other two guys, man, get them over though.
Yeah.
I mean, freaking. It always makes me laugh, bro. Zima Ion from TNA, bro. Zima freaking DJ Z, bro. It's freaking one of the top storylines in the WWE. Like,
you know what's so crazy too? Here's something funny too. And unless you know, he's not even Latino.
Yeah. I mean, he don't look like it. So
he's not even Latino, but you know what?
Look like it.
You know what? But he does have history like it in like Lucha Libre, like AAA and stuff.
Yeah.
So, but he's not even Latino. But why the heck not? Just throw him in the LWO.
Oh, dude, when he stands in the ring there, when he was standing there with Savio Vega and Bad Bunny and Ray, and I just can't help but laugh, bro. Like Zima Ion, bro. This guy used to have crazy hair, like
DJ Z.
DJ Z, bro. I went into All In. They had this Flip Gordon party in the parking lot. DJ Z was like the guest DJ at the time or whatever.
Yeah.
People, like he's like spinning tunes. He's like unsigned at that time, and now look at him. Like it just makes me laugh. But yeah, right. The guy. Oh my god, man, it's so funny to see. But yeah, LWO, man, they're legit. I want to see WWE go all the way with them as a faction. I think it's
Me too,
listen.
man.
Especially if they're riding that merch sales, man. Like keep pumping out that merch, man.
I'm really hoping that happens. Like, I feel like Triple H, he has to notice it because like unlike Vince McMahon, when Rusev Day was like the hottest thing in the company, he completely ignored it. It was like, oh, that's just a gimmick. It's just they're just buying it because of the shirts. They weren't like he wasn't realized like you had like a guy in Rusev like could be a megastar. He didn't capitalize on that. I really hope now going forward, especially with the draft split, you capitalize like on this LWO momentum because
I hope so.
because
Yeah.
like yo, they're white hot right now. Even with their losses, they're super white hot.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know how you don't go all the way with them, and I think I'd be pretty confident with Triple H in charge that he's going to make sure that they remain over as a group. And it's great for everybody involved because again, I don't really think Legado del Fantasma would be doing anything
Mhm.
if it wasn't for being involved in this group. Same with Zelina Vega, she wouldn't be doing anything. What's Ray going to really do now that the feud with Dom is kind of like it's still there, but I mean they had their match and it's kind of like there's nothing really coming about from it now. It just gives everybody something to do, So yeah, let's see where it goes from here. But this weekend really established them as a top stable in the wrestling business, and that's why I said like it could become better than Bullet Club. Who the hell knows? Run with it,
Dude,
man. Go all the way.
I don't hate it, man. I'm so invested in the LWO. I just want them to pick up wins, And then also
Yeah,
one
yeah.
last thing of like the whole LWO aspect of everything, just seeing like that shot of them all together, they're celebrating with Bad Bunny, they have Bad Bunny over their shoulders. You could just see how genuinely everybody in that fucking ring was so fucking happy. And there was
Yeah.
just at one point where the camera pans to Damian Priest and he's just like sitting there defeated, like outside the ring, and he's just looking at the ring. And I don't know, maybe I'm the only one that took this, right? And I'm not saying this is gonna happen later on, but when I saw Damian Priest and he just looks like just disappointed, defeated, and he's looking at the ring, he didn't look pissed off. He
Yeah.
looked like, man, maybe things were differently. Maybe I could have been there with them, Like, that's kind of like the vibe I got. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm reading it totally wrong, too. And I'm not saying that he's leaving Judgment Day. That's not what I'm saying. But at that 1 second, that's the vibe I got at that visual.
Yeah. I mean, it could be, and I'm sure he could be feeling that way. But I hope at the end of the day, he looks at that and says, "I was a part of something special here. I was a huge part of this." And I hope he just doesn't. I hope he was taking it all in and really just understands how important he was in this role too. Because again, it's not just about Bad Bunny, not just about the LWO. It's not about Carlito and Savio Vega and everything else that happened. He was a huge part
1,000%.
of making that entire match and post match and everything what it was. So
1,000%. All right. Bloodline, which, listen, the crowd came down. Even though they were still, like, reacting to everything, the crowd came down after the Bad Bunny Damian Priest match, which Bad Bunny Damian Priest should have main evented, all right? There's no debate. That should have been the main event. The closing moments at the pay-per-view with the lower third on the bottom should have been the LW all together celebrating with Bad Bunny. That would have been the perfect ending of this pay-per-view. But
absolutely.
We'll get there. So we had the Bloodline, Solo Sikoa, Jimmy Uso, and Jey Uso versus Riddle, Owens, and Sami Zayn. While the crowd was noticeably a little bit down, they were still reacting to shit. The guys did get pops. And the match was what it was. It was a fine match. But the match was more served as a purpose to further tell the story on the Bloodline. What's going on with the Bloodline? So leading up to this match, if you've been watching like some of like the backstage vignettes with Paul Heyman and stuff, it seems like Paul Heyman and Solo Sikoa are in cahoots. Something's going on with them and Roman, right? That doesn't involve the Usos, right? This whole week, I don't know if it was on Raw and SmackDown. I believe it was on SmackDown. The Usos come up to Solo Sikoa, talking, getting all hyped up, whatever. And there was that one point where Jay and Solo are looking at each other, and he's like, "Oh, you got her back, Solo," or like Uso, whatever. And Solo just looking at him like, test him like, "Yeah, I'm gonna do what I gotta do. Just make sure you guys do what you guys have to do." So there was some tension there. And then Jimmy even said something to Jay. He's like, "You just had to say something to him." Fast forward to this match, there's some heat there between Solo and Jay, where both of them were like aggressively tagging each other in with each other. And then it came to a point where Solo wanted to hit the Samoan spike on Jay. So I really like where this Bloodline story is going to, where now we're going to see like kind of a civil war within the Bloodline.
Yeah. Especially with Roman off TV. It's still, you're still progressing Bloodline storylines. Yeah, this one's an interesting one. I really thought he was going to turn after the match. I was waiting for it to happen, but they're going to slow burn this, and I like that a lot. Listen, this 6-man match, it was what it was. It wasn't bad, obviously. It was pretty good, but it kind of wasn't needed. It was I think more suited for like Raw or SmackDown as a main
1000.
event.
Yep.
And like I said before, it kind of really killed a little bit of the momentum we had from the Bad Bunny match. I mean, even me, myself, watching the Bad Bunny stuff and afterwards, I'm on my phone and stuff, really didn't pay too much attention to this match because I don't know, it was just kind of like there, like again, I understand it was to, kind of further the storyline between Solo and the Usos, but I don't know, it was, I just feel like nobody really cared. I don't know. I guess that was just a vibe I got, and I mean, I was just like, all right, give me Cody at this point, But yeah,
give me Cody at this point. Just give me Cody. I don't care about.
Just give me Cody. I just want to see this main event. I don't really care about this, but yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see how it plays out on TV for the next coming weeks between Solo and Paul Heyman, and Roman returns next week, so maybe we'll get some more storyline progression there with the Usos and everything. So it's definitely interesting. I just feel like that being in this spot, it was a little odd, and I don't really think it was needed.
Yeah, I agree. Also, it was you know what it is too. I'm they're drafted in different brands at this point, right? Owens and Zayn are a completely different brand from the Usos, right? So this is like, all right, the last of it, right? But if you really think about it, right, the Sammy and Jay story, I feel like it's kind of ending in a way kind of a cliffhanger, because who knows when we're gonna see these guys together in the same like venue, right? Because now they're in different brands. Maybe a Night of Champions, maybe they throw like another backstage, which is fine. I think going forward, I think we might get some of that, where whatever this Bloodline story is going, maybe at some point, like a couple of months from now, at one of these pay-per-views, you see Sammy confronting Jay and saying like, didn't I warn you this a couple of months ago? Like something like that. Maybe we get something like that, which is totally fine. But like, besides that, I'm kind of over the Sammy KO versus the Usos.
I agree. 100% let KO and Sammy run through the tag division and do their own thing. I agree. There's nothing more that they could do at this moment with Sammy and the Usos. Listen, the Usos don't want to listen to Sammy. Sammy's trying to warn them about Roman. They don't want to listen. I agree. Let's move on. For a couple of months, let's not see Sammy and the Usos interact at all, because I feel like at this point, it's overstaying its welcome a little bit. Let the issues now be within the bloodline itself and have nothing to do with Sammy and KO. I 100% agree with that. I'd love to just see, now that they're separated, just let's not be involved anymore. Let's just move on for now. We could always revisit something later down the line.
Yeah. You know what? Here's an idea. Throw the United States title on Solo Sikoa. That's another one.
Oh yeah. I mean, dude, I'm 100% all over that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because Austin Theory ain't it. All right, let's talk about the main event. Brock Lesnar versus Cody Rhodes. Both guys got great reactions. I love the fact that it doesn't matter what country we're in or where we're at. Everybody sings Cody Rhodes' theme. Okay, everybody knows the lyrics. I love that. This match started off already. Boom. Brock Lesnar's outside the ring. Cody hits a suicide dive. He starts nailing him with the steel steps. And once they got in the ring, that's it. Brock Lesnar took over, a la John Cena in 2014 SummerSlam. Suplex after suplex after suplex. We get some color. And then to end the match, here's one thing that I wanted to point out. Yo, Cody Rhodes kicked out of an F5, man. Listen, not just anybody kicks out of F5s, okay?
Yeah,
Unless you're Roman Reigns. I saw that shit. I was like, oh, shit. I popped. I thought it was over at that point.
Me too.
When he hit the F5, I'm like, well, Brock won. He kicked out. I was like, oh, shit. Was not expecting that. And then I believe Brock hits the Kimura. He locks in the Kimura. And then we get kind of like a weird pin where Brock's shoulders were down and Cody picks up the win. I was fine with the match. All right. But I just feel like this shouldn't have been the main event. I feel like this match would have been better as an opener, if anything.
Yeah.
I think the right call would have been Bad Bunny and Damian Priest as the main event. That should have been the main event, man. But overall, I really enjoyed the pay-per-view. I thought the pay-per-view was fantastic. WWE is hitting in every aspect, regardless of how you feel about results and match placements. Listen, Puerto Rico, just like we mentioned Toronto, just like we mentioned about the UK. Listen, Backlash was cool. Love the pay-per-view, but they also deserve like a bigger pay-per-view as well. Like make like a fucking whole week or weekend out of it. They were great, man. I love the audience. I love the crowd's reaction. I love the energy. And I also wish I could have been there too, man, to take it all in. It was a fucking phenomenal.
Yeah, yeah. No, dude, I agree. Overall, it was awesome. The match between Cody and Brock, I thought it was fine. I thought it was everything that I guess it needed to be. It's kind of exactly what I expected it to be. Cody got a lot more offense than I thought he would. Listen, I was worried about a squash here, man. I was worried that they're going to go the route where they just keep burying Cody to the point where he's just, you know, he's just losing, and he seems so defeated, and he's never going to finish the story, and then maybe he was going to rattle off some wins and just in time for WrestleMania next year to challenge Roman again, but I'm glad they didn't do that. I'm glad they had Cody go over here. Interesting, very creative way for him to go over. Yeah, I mean, the blood obviously added to it. That was a cool visual. And yeah, Cody wins. He counters the Kimura and he escapes. And you know, you just see Brock in the ring with the towel wiping his face. Cody leaves. He's done. And you see the little, you know, graphic on the bottom, and that's it. The pay-per-view goes off the air, and I couldn't help but feel a little bit like underwhelmed. And like I said before, very little anticlimactic ending. Just a little, just like, I don't know, it was just weird, you know. And that's why I think the Bad Bunny match going off the air with that would have just made more sense to me. But I mean, overall, again, like, that's just a minor like thing to complain about, because like I said, the whole entire show was awesome from start to finish. WWE has really just put on just great pay-per-view after great pay-per-view after great pay-per-view for a while now. Listen, it's a hot product, man. It really is. I mean, I've never, you know, looking back on the past few years with Vince in charge and how awful the product was, Triple H has given it the shot in the arm that it needs. It's doing big business, man.
Yep.
I'm excited for the shows. I'm into the storylines. The talent is being featured the way they should be featured. Yeah, overall, man, it was a tremendous night. And I hope, I don't know, you know, what the logistics of it is, but I hope Puerto Rico gets another show, whether it's a live event, like a pay-per-view, or it's, I don't know, like, even if they just go there for like a week to do Raw and SmackDown, and I don't know,
that's
like,
another great idea too.
Give them something, you know, and because I want to watch this shit on TV. Like, that, you know, enough with the house shows, you know, give them something important.
Yeah. It was just such a great crowd, and that energy was, man, it really makes you just kind of step back a little. And like I mentioned in the start of a show, you know, we're spoiled out here, all right? We get wrestling every weekend if we want to, okay?
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we take that for granted. And I'm not saying us specifically, like me and you or Leo or whatever, or some of the people that are just good fans. I'm just talking about, like, just overall as a whole, sometimes we take advantage of that, and we don't realize, like, how good we have it.
When you live with moderate to severe Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis, your day
what the hell was
full
that?
of reminders of your
What
condition.
the fuck just happened?
Never knowing.
I don't know what the fuck just happened. That was so random and weird. Okay. What the fuck?
Live shows, man. Live shows.
All right. Okay. Back to what I was saying. Sometimes we take advantage of that and we just don't appreciate and just soak it all in. And that Puerto Rico crowd, last weekend when WWE was in France, you know, when they go do these UK shows, and we're about to talk about All In a little bit, like, when we see all that and we see, like, how the audience is, we should really take that in and be like, you know what? We should just enjoy the product when it's really, really, now don't get me wrong, sometimes we've gotten served shit, and I totally understand that, you know, but at the same time, we should take that energy and just focus on, like, all the good stuff that's happening in wrestling.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%, man. And I mentioned this last week where haven't really been on Twitter in a while, you know, involved in the wrestling, like, dirt sheets and all that stuff, because I just feel like I don't need that at this point in my life. You know, I'm getting older too. I mean, we're all getting older, right? Every single year, but like, you kind of just like, you don't really have time for this garbage anymore. I mean, I look back to 2019 when you had the NXT and the AEW war against each other, right? And how, like, divided the fans were and everything, and how toxic everything was.
They're still divided, bro.
Oh, I'm sure they still are. It's not nearly as bad as it was. But let me tell you, man, I don't even have the time to engage in that garbage anymore. I watch what I watch. I like what I like. It's, you know, wrestling's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be a passion. It's supposed to be an escape of the real world. I feel like there's no point of complaining about it. And of course, me and you are going to do our fair share of complaining. I mean, we have a show. We have a show to do, right? Well, I'm not going to come on here and say everything is apples and oranges. Everything's great, right? In the world of professional wrestling. No, there's some shitty storylines out there. There's some bad booking. There's this and that. But overall, man, just enjoy wrestling for what it is. Again, if you didn't think that show was great last night, I mean, I don't know how you think that. But I mean, just
congratulations,
again,
you played yourself.
Yeah. Just enjoy the shows, take in the energy, even if you're watching them from home. Because again, I felt the energy of that crowd just watching on my couch last night. So, yeah, listen, it's supposed to be fun, and last night was fun.
Here's the thing, and I think we do a great job at doing this, and I'm not just gassing ourselves up, but there's one thing about being critical, right? And we could be critical all we want about stuff, but we don't want to see these companies fail. You should never want to see a company die or fail at a certain thing, whether they're trying to sell out a stadium, whatever it is, right? We can all have our favorites. We watch what we watch. But what I don't understand is the toxic fan base. This goes beyond the fan base. There's a lot of content creators that do this. There's people that are in top platforms that are quote unquote like wrestling contributors that play into the tribalism when it comes to wrestling culture. And it's like you're doing nothing to move it forward. You're not doing nothing. You should never want to see a wrestling company fail. Never. Yeah. You should never. What good does that do?
Right. Again, these are real human beings trying to make a living, and I think a lot of people forget about that. I mean, listen, there's wrestling products out there that I don't really enjoy. I don't watch. I don't support. But man, like, I'd have to have absolutely no life to go out there on Twitter and just bash these performers, these companies, sit there, hate watch these shows and hope they fail. Again, to me, that's just, it's a waste of time, and it makes you look pathetic. And again, yeah, listen, I want wrestling to thrive, and right now, wrestling is thriving all across the board. Every company right now is doing great things and bringing in big business, and that's what you love to see.
Matt Cardona put out a tweet yesterday, and this is like, I'm going to read it because I did think if you're just a wrestling fan, no matter what company you like, if you like all wrestling, this is the type of mindset you should have, all right? WWE is on a roll lately, including incredible pay-per-views, PLEs, AEW selling 60K tickets in Wembley Stadium, GCW is putting on shows every weekend all over the world, Impact is finally starting to get credit it deserves, Indies on fire. What a time to be a wrestling fan, and what a time to be a wrestler. That's the perfect example of the type of energy you should have, whether you're a wrestling fan, a wrestling promoter, a wrestler. Like, that's the type of energy you should have. You should never want a wrestling company to fail, or a wrestling promotion to die, or a wrestling promotion not to sell out this. Get rid of that toxic energy. If you don't like something, just don't watch it. That's perfectly fine with that. You don't have to watch every single company.
Simple as that, man. It's as simple as that. If you don't like it, don't watch it. And that's it. Again, I don't watch half the wrestling that goes on, I mean, again, there's too much to keep up on, but man, like, I know I like to joke and bust Impact balls, but of course, if I used to be a huge TNA fan, I would never.
Oh yeah, we had a whole conversation about it, right?
Oh yeah, sure did. Yeah, I mean, I'd be an idiot, right, to come on here and hope they fail. I mean, at this point, Impact's living forever. All right, listen, they've died like 17 times and died 17 times.
Right.
They're still, alive. But yeah, I mean, Matt Cardona's tweet was the perfect tweet, and it's, yeah, man. Like I said, it's great to see wrestling doing great things in 2023, man. At one point, wrestling looked like it was dying out, man, and it's just been revigorated. I don't know if that's the word I was looking for.
We'll go with that.
But you know what where I'm going.
No, yeah. It just feels like energized.
Invigorated, I think it is.
Energized, alive, like you just feel it. You just feel it all over the world.
Yep.
Okay, so let's talk about All In. All right, as of right now, okay. So a little bit over 60K. This is how much tickets they've sold for Wembley Stadium. That's a phenomenal number. All right, I went on record when they first made this announcement about All In London. I said, in my opinion, to me, the way I view things, okay, if they could do 40K or more, I think it's a success already. You got to understand, AEW is still a fairly new promotion. They've only been around for, 5 years, give or take? So getting 40K in Wembley, I think it's a win, but they're already at 60. And I still think this number is going to grow more. And
What is the capacity is 90K, isn't it, for Wembley?
Yeah, but so the capacity's at 90K, but we also got to take in consideration what are they setting, like how are they setting it up? Are they only going to set it up for like 75,000? Are they going to set it up for 65,000? We don't know what that number is. That hasn't been public knowledge.
Okay.
So, you know, going back to what we were just talking about, like the toxicity of the wrestling fan base, all these AEW haters saying like, oh, they're not going to send out Wembley. It's going to do a poor number. They can't draw, etc., whatever. Well, guess what? They already done 60,000. That's a great number, okay?
Yeah.
An amazing number. So Tony Khan calls out this reporter, I think it's for ESPN earlier this week, Mike something, I forget. And he went on record saying like, oh, like, you know, AEW selling 40-something thousand tickets is like poor. I forget the wording behind it. Actually, you know what? I got the tweet right here. He goes like, I'm here in Wembley, scaled down for 40K for AEW. Far cry from his last April when I was at ringside for Tyson Fury and Dillian White. It was packed to the brim, 94,000. Nothing beats a big fight feel at Wembley. Listen, I'm very critical on Tony on Twitter, all right? Like, for example, when he went at Ariel Helwani, which I thought it was, like, very unprofessional. He should have never done that, right?
Yeah.
But when it comes to this tweet, right for Tony Khan, I'm glad that he responded. He goes, like, lies, what a load of crap. Tell your agent, Nick Khan, to shove it up his ass. Listen, maybe the Nick Khan line was a little bit too much, but regardless, I'm glad that he shut up this fucking Mike, whatever his name is. All right. Just like people call out Meltzer when he, you know, puts out bullshit out there at times. All right. I'm glad that Tony Khan called this dude fucking out. Because listen, the second he called out this dude out, Mike shut the fuck up and didn't say anything more after this. That's it. Maybe he was getting harassed by Twitter as well. Who knows? I don't know. But I'm very critical on Tony when it comes to his Twitter shenanigans. But in this one, I'm with him. I'm glad that he shut this dude up. Because what do you gain out of that? Let's say there's truth behind them selling out, like them scaling the capacity to 40K. Let's say that was true. Clearly it was not, because he sold out 60 signed tickets, right? Clearly that was not true, wherever his source or whatever he got this from, right? But why are you even downplaying 40K? This is a 5-year-old company that sold out 40,000 tickets. Why are you downplaying that? Oh, well, WWE could... Let's stop comparing it to WWE. WWE is a decades after decades year-old company. This is a 5-year-old company that's going into a market that they've never been to before. And they've done 60,000 tickets.
Yeah.
Not bad for a t-shirt company, right?
Right. A pissant t-shirt company, right? Like, it's unbelievable to see where AEW has, you know, just to see how far it's come. You know, it's so funny. Back, you know, I think back to early 2019 when they first announced, you know, the launch of AEW on New Year's Day. They had the press conference and everything. I remember that was my last semester of college, and I bought the AEW like hoodie that they had. I bought a hat or whatever. I remember I used to walk around campus with like a hoodie or the hat, you know, whatever I was wearing on that day, and I had like people say to me like, oh, like that AEW, like do you think it's gonna be, you know, something, like, you know, or like asking me questions about it, right? And I just remember from like day one, I was just like, yeah, dude, this is gonna be successful. This is gonna be successful. I don't know how it's not. You know, I have confidence in Kenny and Bucks, and this Tony guy seems legit and all that stuff. And like, I look back at that and I'm just like, man, like, I'm not trying to toot my own horn. Oh, I was right. But like, man, from day one, I never doubted this company. I never doubted these guys in charge. And like, it's time and time again, ever since then, it seems like there's always that one person that just doubts them. Oh, they can't do this. Oh, they can't do this. Oh, they won't do good ratings. Oh, they'll be out of business. Oh, they'll be off the air. Oh, this and that. Warner Media has given them so much more content. The ratings are just unbelievable every single week. They're about to sell out freaking Wembley Stadium. They got some of the biggest names in sports entertainment, wrestling. They got CM Punk to come back out of retirement to come, you know, to do this. Like, AEW is just, like, it's just an unbelievable story. And like you said, 5 years in, I mean, we have, you know, we have decades to go, you know, hopefully. But it's just unbelievable to see where they've come and how far they've come. And again, just like this douche on Twitter that, again, just wants to downplay the company and what they do. There's always going to be that person out there. But man, it's just crazy to think how far this company has come in such a short amount of time. And yeah, I mean, I agree. Listen, Tony should stay off of Twitter half the time. But I don't have a problem with him trying to defend something like this when this guy's trying to obviously downplay this, and he's spreading lies. And again, if you're Tony, you're sitting there like, you don't want to just sit there and be like, oh, just let this guy do whatever he wants to do. Like, nah, like you want to go at him, that's fine. But man, it's crazy. At this point, AEW is probably going to get close to that 90K mark, and it's unbelievable. And mind you, CM Punk, I know he's rumored to come back. He's not even announced, okay? He's not on the promotional stuff. He's not on the graphics.
Nothing's been announced for this show. We don't even know. We don't even know it's going to be a pay-per-view. The speculation is it's going to be on HBO Max, but we don't even know this is going to be a pay-per-view.
Right. Like with very little information, they have sold over 60,000 tickets. I mean, incredible, man. Absolutely incredible.
What I like also, and I think it's the perfect name for this show, All In London. It's so perfect because remember, the original All In before AEW was a thing, it was made off of a bet, right? Dave Meltzer saying, I don't think any independent promotion can do over 10,000 tickets. And Cody was like, I'll take that bet. And they did it, All In, right? Now it's, can we sell close to 90,000, right? Or whatever the number is, like whatever they're capping it at, right? Because we still don't know what are they scaling down the venue at. But at this point, 60,000. The show's in August, late August, all right? It's September. Right. It's September of Jace, if you really think about it, right? Who's to say they don't get close to 90,000? Who's to say they can't do it?
I mean, listen, if anybody doubts them after this, I mean, you're an idiot. I mean, again, you're just pushing them. You're just giving them more motivation to, like, sell this freaking thing out. Yeah, I mean, it's true. I mean, it seems like it's not going to be a pay-per-view. We don't even know, we don't know nothing about this event, bro. We know nothing about it, besides that they're running a show on August 27th, whatever it is, at Wembley Stadium. That's it. There's a poster with some, talent on there, and that's it. We have nothing else announced for it. It's pretty crazy. I do expect, obviously, the card to be unbelievable, but they don't have to book unbelievable matches to sell any more tickets.
Right.
They don't. They already have sold so many. So... yeah, dude, it's crazy, man.
Great,
I mean, the feeling backstage must be so, just the vibes must be so great back there, just knowing that. And Tony himself, man, I mean, again, this guy used to book shows all the time. He's such a passionate wrestling fan. He grew up loving wrestling. I mean, for him now to own a wrestling company that's about to sell out Wembley Stadium, it must be an unbelievable feeling for him.
I think Jeff Jarrett went on record this week. I don't know if he said it in an interview or he said it to Conrad. He said, this is going to be our WrestleMania. He went on record and saying that.
Yeah, of course.
And it's just, I'm so happy for them. I'm so happy for AEW. And just like you, when the rumors, the rumblings of AEW's going to be a thing or whatever, I was just so excited. I was looking forward to it. And then I just remember New Year's Eve watching that being the Elite and just seeing that, when they're outside the Tokyo Dome and they're all looking at their phones, the double or nothing graphic. And then it was Heyman Page that had on his phone the AEW logo. I was like, holy shit, they're really fucking doing it. It was such an unbelievable, feeling I had just seeing these guys just, me too, bro. Because, I love the Bucks. I love Cody, Kenny, all these guys, right? And just betting on themselves, not going to WWE, right? And believing in what they had. And yeah, granted, AEW has changed, within time. But that was a given, right? That was always going to happen, right? We were going to get, whether you call it progression, growth, whatever you want to call it, AEW was not going to stay in their original form, right? We all knew this. If you didn't know this, you're just a fucking idiot, right? But just seeing that they're going to fucking do this big London show, and I can only imagine, we talk about the Puerto Rican crowd last night at Backlash, and that was an amazing show, whatever, but I can only imagine the energy in Wembley. How dope is that going to be visually to watch?
Yeah. Yeah. I can't wait for it, man. I can't wait to see how it looks. I mean, AEW's first stadium show. I mean, yeah, it's basically like a WrestleMania. Yeah, it's going to be a party. It's going to be unbelievable out there. Like I said, I could have never imagined in a short period of time that they'd be doing this. I mean, I knew one day AEW was going to be able to do something like this, but man, 5 years in, really is unbelievable. It's crazy to think about. Yeah, I'm so excited for that show.
Yeah.
And we still got months. You would think the show is like next month.
Yeah.
We have so long to go, you know?
And then a week after All In, you have All Out. So you have all week. It's all week.
Yeah, I'm not really sure how they're going to do that still. I mean, I know All Out hasn't been announced, yet, but I don't really know how you do a huge show, even if it's not pay-per-view, how you do a huge show like All In Wembley, and then a week later you do a pay-per-view. I don't really know how you're going to book that. I'm really curious to see, but I'm sure they have a plan in place. Right. But
yeah. You know what's so funny, too? Because I think you were at that show, too. You remember the last final battle that the Bucks and Cody and
I was
the
there.
Elite was in, right? In the Hammerstein Bar, I was there, too. I don't know if you remember, but at the end of the pay-per-view, after they went off the air, they did the Elite were in the ring, and I think Daniels and Scorpio Sky and Frankie Kazarian was in the ring with them, and they were pretty much cutting a promo to the crowd, pretty much like everybody knew like that's it, they're leaving Ring of Honor and stuff. And I think they might have mentioned like All In, like, the successful All In, we don't know what we're gonna do next or whatever, and like the crowd was saying, chanting Double or Nothing. You remember that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I think a lot of people thought at the time, I was one of them, like, oh, that's a really cool name, Double or Nothing. Like, is it gonna be like All In, Double or Nothing? Because that technically would be All In too. But instead, we just got like the Double or Nothing pay-per-view, and that was it. Fast forward a couple months later, they couldn't call it All In because Ring of Honor owned the rights to that name, so they called it All Out. We still got the hint, it was All In. So technically, while we did get Double or Nothing and we got All Out, this is technically the sequel of All In.
Yeah. I agree 100%. I mean, it's All In too, pretty much. Yeah, because we haven't gotten it since, and I love how they bring back the name for this. It's only fitting that they bring it back for this show. I 100% agree. It's pretty crazy, and again, like it's just. The Bucks, they put, I think they put like something in their Twitter bio or something like that. Like, thank you for All In, like the first All In. Thank you for All In 2. Thank you for all of this. Like, it's amazing how they're going to go down in history as literally changing the business.
They really did.
And like, obviously at this point, you got to think they're never going to go to WWE. I mean, their legacies are just like on par with anybody who's ever really stepped foot in the WWE. I mean, you could even say what they've done in wrestling is more important than anything that they could have done in WWE. They legit changed and revolutionized the business. And again, for an alternative brand like AEW 5 years in to be selling out a stadium as historic and iconic as Wembley, again, I can't really again, it's unbelievable. Like when you keep saying that in your head, like, and you keep thinking about it, you keep seeing every time I go on Twitter, I feel like they sell more tickets to this freaking show. It's just unbelievable how important this is.
Wasn't one of their
and again, this is not a shot. You never saw, like, even when Impact was or TNA was a secondary, wrestling option, there was not even a thought that they were ever going to sell out any type of building like this. Okay. No. They can't even freaking sell out like, the Sears Center in Chicago, Impact. No. I legit don't. No. And this is not even me like.
No. You're being realistic. You're being realistic.
Yeah, they have. I mean, God, they've run shows in Universal Studios Florida. Like, they run in warehouses. They don't have the fan base. What AEW is doing, no other company has ever done, and probably will ever do. Besides WWE.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say something else about just this whole thing. Oh, okay, so. Wasn't like one of the elites, like, I remember they had a couple of shirts that said like "Change of the World," and that's legit what they've done. They changed the wrestling world. They've
legit, like, they say that, but they actually did it.
They did it. No, absolutely. Yeah. It's not just a cute catchphrase to throw on a shirt. No, they actually did it.
Yeah. And I will forever, and as fans, me and you and everybody else who loves wrestling and not just watches it to pick it apart and stuff like that, we all have to be so grateful for the Young Bucks and Kenny. Again, if you love wrestling, you got to be. I mean, I'm so super grateful for these guys because at the time WWE was so bad. It's like we needed this alternative so badly, and they gave us something that I don't even think we could have ever imagined. So
also,
it's crazy.
Also, you gotta listen. If you're looking at the bigger picture here, right, and you're not just being like a tribalist fan just to hate just for the sake of hating. You could also make the argument, too, if it wasn't for AEW, maybe we would be getting the same old dance in WWE.
Yeah. I'm sure. Yeah, that's a really, really good point. You never know. And I don't want to know. I'm grateful we have AEW, and I'm grateful for all this, and I'm, man, like I'd love to fly to freaking London to see this show live. You know, like that's how crazy it's gonna be. And like we were just talking about the Puerto Rico show and everything. Again, we have Money in the Bank in London. We have this to look forward to.
You got Money in
Man,
the Sand 9?
oh, well, yeah, you know, could do without that. Could do without that one.
Oh,
But yeah, man, it's unbelievable.
it really is. All right, more on the AEW front. So, Will Washington is all elite. He's director of wrestling administration. If you don't know who Will Washington is, he used to work for Fightful, all right? He also had a shoot job. I believe he was like a tech or something, like an engineer of some sort. Apparently, he lost his job like last year, and never met the guy. But I know there's a lot of close friends of mine that are actually friends with him. And he seems like a great guy, all right? He used to do the Grapsody stuff on Fightful. He seems like a great guy. He's also cousins with Shane Strickland. A lot of people were like wondering, like, wow, really? Like Tony Khan hired a fucking dirt sheet guy to now work in AEW. And a lot of people were scratching their heads too, right? And I looked at it a completely, totally different because Will Washington has been doing podcasting for like, I think like close to 15 to 18 years, right? Like going back to like before like podcasts were like actually like a thing that we're doing now, right? Like everybody has a podcast now, even besides like the wrestling world, right? And this guy was like on message boards and stuff like that. You know who else used to be like on message boards all the time? And that was Tony Khan.
Yeah.
All right. So they kind of, while Tony Khan is fucking rich and loaded, right? They kind of grew up the same way and they have like the same interests and the same mindset when it comes to wrestling. And apparently, I guess Will Washington and Tony they've had some type of relationship prior to this. Shane Strickland is his cousin, so I'm putting the puzzles together. So like, I don't think is as shocking as a lot of people think it is. Will Washington going to AEW? I really do hope that Will Washington is allowed to do things in AEW for the better. Like that's what I do think. I think I don't necessarily hate the idea that like one of us, right, a guy that's passionate about wrestling, that has like the knowledge and history of like wrestling also, to be in there and now play a part into like the growth of the company, whether it's creative, etc. From a social media aspect, however you want to call it, I don't think it necessarily is a bad thing.
No, I mean, not at all. Listen, like, I kind of laughed when I saw the graphic because I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, this dude's just a fan. I'm like, what is this? I'm like, is this a joke or something? You know, like, I know what he does for Fightful and everything. I didn't know, like, I don't know the insides of, like, what he does and everything. And obviously he's a very smart guy. And, yeah, he's got that connection to Swerve. And I guess, you know, Tony took notice of that and he wanted to get him on board. And, hey, best of luck to the guy. I have no issues with this. I mean, you know, he's working behind the scenes. So, you know, and if he's not good, I'm sure, you know, no harm. It's really no harm, no foul. You know, I mean, hey, listen, we'd all love to be in this spot. You know, I think there's a lot of jealousy out there too.
And there's a lot of jealousy and there's a lot of nut hugging too. The amount of nut hugging I saw for Will Washington, I'm like, and listen, I'm not saying that he doesn't deserve it. The people that actually know the guy, that actually have friendships with him. But man, the amount of people that been like nut hugging this guy too, it's to the extreme. Like, okay, we get it. We're all happy for Will Washington. Do you really have a relationship with him? Like, shut the fuck up. Stop trying to nut hug the guy.
Oh, I know. I mean, so many people. I mean, I'll admit, Sean Rossap, and I don't really love Sean Rossap either. I think he's a goon, but he's like, I follow him for, you know, because he's good at what he does. But man, oh man, his Twitter was unbearable that night. Unbearable. And again, I'm not saying this guy don't deserve it, Will Washington. Again, I don't know him. I don't know him at all. I don't know him from a hole in the wall. But yeah, I agree 100%, man. The way they just sucking him off and he deserves it. He deserves it. Oh, this and that. Oh my goodness. Listen.
That is a disgusting act.
You know what? Anything that sucks in AEW from here on out, I'm blaming on Will Washington. Right?
But that's the online joke now too. Now anything that's bad with AEW, we're gonna blame it on Will. And I said this to a couple of friends of mine in this group chat that I'm in. I said to them, like, listen, if we end up getting an AEW Global Championship, I'm blaming it on Will Washington. Okay.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
If we get that, I'm blaming it on Will. Just to please Punk, I'm blaming it on Will Washington.
It's hilarious.
Okay, let's wrap up with some AEW stuff before we wrap this up. Okay, so AEW Dynamite was cool. It was a cool show. I'm gonna be quite honest though. The road to this 4-pillars 4-way that we've been on, besides that opening segment, that was pretty much like they set the foundation. So eventually, what we've been getting in the last couple of weeks. Besides that, I have not really been enjoying the build that much. I feel like it's too convoluted for my liking. All right, it's listen. I know a lot of people have been enjoying like the pairing of Sammy G and MJF, and don't get me wrong, they have their moments that is pretty funny and stuff. But I feel like it's just like overly done too much. I don't know, man. I just haven't really enjoyed it. I guess the build to it. I think this match is gonna be phenomenal at Double or Nothing. I do like that. I do like this 4-way. But I just feel like the build has been just a little bit too convoluted for my liking.
No, I agree 100%. They could have done this a different way. I think I said this last week too. I don't really love how they really are going at this to get to this match. It's not the way I would have booked it. I don't really know how I would book it, but I'd probably do it way different. But listen, we got it. We're getting it. It's the main event. It's going to be a great match. But yeah, I mean, overall too, like, we're just talking about Wembley and everything. And that's also another surprising thing about this is like that they sold out and have been selling out tickets as much as they have. I feel like AEW right now is kind of like, the programming's just been okay. I mean, there's like, it's just like, it's, I don't know. Some of the storylines are just kind of just like not really hitting for me. Again, we're getting another weird build to another big pay-per-view for AEW, Double or Nothing. Can't really tell you besides, the main event and I guess Adam Cole, Chris Jericho, and BCC and Elite.
You're not excited for FTR versus Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett?
Yeah, is that actually happening? Is that confirmed? No, they
dude, I think that's gonna happen, and I'm like, listen,
that's terrible, man.
Listen, I love Lethal, I love Jarrett, but I do not want to see this match, man. Like,
it's terrible. I mean, this tag division, man, fell apart and is just rock bottom.
And it's not like they don't have tag teams.
Yeah, dude, I don't know. I want to know, like, Tony Khan, like, he has this sick obsession with Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal that I just can't wrap my finger around. I just don't get it. No! Jeff Jarrett in 2023 should not be featured as a top wrestler in any company. And he's being featured on AEW TV way too much for my liking. I didn't care about it at first, but man, oh man. And Jay Lethal, listen, great wrestler. I know you are a big fan of him. You've been for a while. Nothing against the guy, but he's just very bland. He's just, I just don't get the obsession. And again, FTR should not be feuding with these guys. It's terrible, man. For a pay-per-view like Double or Nothing, one of their big pay-per-views, this just ain't it.
I don't mind Lethal, Jarrett, Sanjay, and Sanam Singh being a thing. I don't mind that. I think that's fine. Listen, the segment they did with the Briscoes at their farm, I thought it was hilarious. I don't mind that being a thing, but I don't need to see them get a tag title shot at a pay-per-view. The thing is, we see too much of them. If we would see them here and there, I feel like maybe people wouldn't care too much, but like, come on, man. Like, weren't they didn't they get a tag title shot at the last pay-per-view too in that 4-way?
Yeah. I believe so. Yeah.
Like, I don't know, man. I don't know. And like I said, I don't dislike Jarrett and Lethal. I don't mind the stable, but I feel like they get opportunity after opportunity. It's like, it's just too much, man. It's just too much for my life.
I agree. I don't really understand the thinking behind that. Again, tag team wrestling I thought was supposed to be big in AEW. For a while now, it hasn't been, and I don't really know where they went wrong along the way because they have tag teams. I don't know. Again, it's very, very just strange to me.
They have tag teams and they have trios, right? They have established trios. Yet this coming week on AEW, we're getting the Best Friends and not Orange Cassidy, but Bandito against the House of Black. They're not an established trio. I get that Bandito and Orange Cassidy are like now like friends or something. I get that. But like, it would have made more sense to bring in Rocky Romero if you're not going to have Orange Cassidy do it because he's part of the same group, right?
Right.
Is like now Bandito like part of this Best Friend stable? Is that what we're doing?
I don't think he fits in that. Yeah.
No, he doesn't.
So, yeah, I know, that's what I'm saying. Like AEW has been a little wonky lately. I'm not gonna lie. Like I didn't really watch this past week. I kind of like ran through it on the DVR very quickly. It really didn't seem like I missed much. I don't know, man. It's there. It's just right now. It's just weird. And again, you have Double or Nothing coming up. That's one of the big pay-per-views. That's the first pay-per-view of the company. Like it's supposed to be a big deal every year. It's in Vegas. It's T-Mobile Arena. Yeah, like, and we're May 7th, and the pay-per-view's in a few weeks, and the TV product has just been weird. The build-up has been weird. I guess they're throwing the card together in 2 weeks again, like they always do now. I just don't get it, man. We used to know some of the top matches months away from the show, where how they used to build them up so great.
I think we just have a match for Double or Nothing, just a match.
Lately, it's I don't know, man. It's AEW's in a weird spot right now. I don't really understand some of the booking. I'll be honest.
Also, one thing I have been really, really enjoying on AEW is the BCC versus the Elite. All right, and
that's the best thing on the show.
And next week we're getting Moxley, Omega 4, and this time it's going to be in a steel cage. This match is going to be fantastic, okay?
Oh, yeah.
And right now, if I'm not mistaken, from their series of matches, going back to their first full gear match, then they had the match where Omega beat Moxley for the world title, and then the explosion death match. So right now, I believe they're at 2-1. I think Moxley needs to win the steel cage match next week so they could be tied up. This match is going to be amazing, regardless who wins. Listen, regardless how you felt about the ending of that explosive death match, that match was fine. That match was great. It was just the ending that was a clunker, right? But these two can't have bad matches together.
No, I mean, this, in my opinion, this is the best rivalry in AEW's short history, is Jon Moxley and Kenny Omega. I mean, from the first ever Double or Nothing, when Mox debuts and he takes out Kenny on and throws him off the poker chip, I think that, along with everything else you just mentioned, their match at the full gear, their lights out, their exploding death wire, barbed wire, whatever the hell it was, match, when Kenny beats Mox for the world title, they have so much history together. These two are always going to be tied together in the history of AEW. I think it's their best. It's the best feud that has ever really gone down in their short history, and it continues this week. And yeah, I mean, you just know it's going to be good. I mean, you just know this match is going to be unbelievable.
1,000%.
So I'm excited to see it. Yeah, regardless of who wins or who loses. And then I guess, we'll just keep getting that push to Double or Nothing, which is probably going to be the Anarchy in the Arena, which we've been talking about for a while. And we'll see where Takeshita fits into this, and Don Callis, and see if Ibushi comes in. And yeah, we're getting closer and closer to finding those answers out. So yeah, this is undoubtedly the best thing on the show. But it's like, when you have a show weekly like this, you have so much talent like at their disposal, like AEW does, for one storyline to be good out of everything on the show. I don't know. That's just like kind of unacceptable to me. It's like I shouldn't just be tuning in for one segment or one match, or like I just want to watch AEW and be interested in everything. So yeah, I mean, this is the best thing that they got going right now, and yeah, I'm excited to see this steel cage match.
I do want to touch on what you just said right now about like having so much talent, and there's only like one story that people are like, or at least us, right, that we're truly like enjoying investing. I do want to go back to that, but about like the BCC and the Elite and like how this story going, I got a question for you. Do you think if indeed Kota Ibushi's coming in, right, do you think they're gonna make that reveal like the week of, like that week? And then the other thing I wanted to mention was like, okay, so like the whole thing about like BCC is like you got to bleed with us before you become one of us, right? They did it with Wheeler Yuta, which made me laugh in the promo this week where Bryan Daniels just called him like, even this little shit right here could be the best wrestler in the world. If you go back and watch that segment, Jon Moxley wanted to laugh so much, and he had to kind of cover his face because he wanted to crack, but he didn't crack. So that alone, I'm like, going back to what I originally said, like about like a month or two ago when I was like fantasy booking this whole angle, right? Not only Takeshita bled, Don Callis bled too. He has a big scar on it. And I still think Don Callis is going to turn on the Elite.
That's interesting too, because when Mox knocked Don Callis out, I thought that was a complete accident when he got busted open hard way and stuff. You think that was actually legit then, like supposed to happen?
No. So
or no,
that was an accident. That he got like, I guess.
But, I mean, they could play it into the story.
Well, they could play it into the story now too. Just like when Wardlow got broken, his car got broken in, it played into the story. Now they can play into that story. Like, hey, Don Callis bled too.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. That really is a good point. Yeah, I mean, listen, there's a lot of interesting directions that they could go with this, and yeah, to answer your question of before, I do think they're gonna wait till the week before to announce like Ibushi, or they might actually just save it for a surprise at the actual pay per view. Like, oh, the Elite found another member to go to war with, and obviously it'll be pretty obvious of who it is. But I wouldn't be shocked if they reveal it at the actual show itself.
All right, let's wrap up with this last thing, the last thought, the final thought, if you will, on today's episode. You mentioned about like how AEW has all these talents, right, and they keep signing people as well, right? Yet there's only like one story, at least for us, that we're like really truly invested in. And I'm not saying that Double or Nothing's not going to be a great pay-per-view. I'm not saying that the matches are going to be great, but listen, it all can't just be great matches. We got to get some story in there too, right?
Right.
That's why I think, wow, when I first heard the news, I was like, man, I hate this, right? I don't want to see this happen. I do think a draft split could be beneficial for the talent. While I don't know how successful the Saturday show is going to be, but when you have like a complete draft split, I do think that might be beneficial for the talent, where a lot of these talents that don't get spotlighted, right, or they just show up on a random Rampage or Ring of Honor taping, if you got two main shows, I think it might be beneficial where you have more storytelling.
Yeah, I'm indifferent about it. I don't really hate the idea. I don't really love the idea. I think it's worth a shot, see how it goes for a little while. And if it doesn't work, then you just scrap it. But yeah, I mean, listen, especially if the new Collision show is going to be 2 hours. So you have, well, yeah, I mean, you essentially, I guess, have 5 hours of television because Rampage is an hour. Listen, there's no excuse not to get everybody on the show and featured in some way and use the talent more. I mean, again, half the time these talents are on these shows and they just feel like whatever. Right. I don't know if you feel this way. Listen, Jay White just feels like another guy on the show. He is in this feud with Ricky Starks that can't end any quicker. I don't know where it's going. I don't know what the point of it is. Him and Juice Robinson together, just buddy, ain't hitting for me. BC Gold. What is BC Gold? What does that even mean? Are they going to get new members? What is this shit?
I want them to get Jay White. I want them to get new members, but like I don't know what's happening. Like there's no continuation of it, right?
Yeah, and like I listen. I know Jay White wasn't going to just come in and challenge for the world title. I'm not saying I wanted that, but this was my fear of Jay White going anywhere other than New Japan. Is that he is just another guy. He is just there. That's why if I feel like if you went to WWE, they are already lacking top stars as it is. You bring him in as a top star like Cody, and like boom, he's instantly like featured in like stories.
Yes.
In AEW, he is just another guy. He's with Juice Robinson. No offense to Juice Robinson. I enjoy Juice Robinson, but Juice Robinson will never be a top star in AEW ever, okay? He's a jobber. He's a mid-carder, and that's all he's ever going to be. And I like Juice Robinson a lot. I do. But why is Jay White stuck and involved with him? I understand the history, but again, this feud with Ricky Starks, where is it going? It's going nowhere. Ricky Starks should be winning this feud because he is, again, a young guy who AEW is investing in. So then what, Jay White is going to lose his first, like, technically first feud in AEW? This is the problem here. So, yeah, I agree. Listen, if they want to do this brand split and you want to have some top stars on each show, listen, it's worth a shot at this point. Again, we won't know if it's going to be successful or not unless they try it. So I can't sit here and say, terrible idea. I don't know that for sure. I have to see it in order to make a judgment on it. So I think it's worth a shot.
Yeah, I agree, bro. The Jay White thing is the one that really bothers me a lot because Jay White's my guy, right? And I
love Jay White, man.
I'm like, fuck, man. I remember a couple months ago, we were fantasy booking like all these different ideas for Jay White going to WWE. He goes to AEW, and listen, I like Juice. Juice is my guy, okay? I like Juice too. But I can't disagree with you. He is a mid-card guy. I won't say he's a jobber, but he is a mid-card guy, okay? And the thing is with the BC Gold, right? When it was first announced, all right, I'm like, okay, I don't necessarily hate it, but now as the weeks progress, like, are you gonna sell me like a credit card upgrade? Are you gonna sell me like a condo? What are you selling me here? What is BC Gold, all right? Why not BC Premium? Why not BC Platinum? Okay,
BC Plus. Well, why? Yeah.
Why not BC Plus? It seems like at this point, it seems like BC or Jace. Okay, it doesn't even seem.
Why
like
haven't
BC.
they just given Jay White a microphone, have him go in the ring, cut a promo, and explain this? The guy could talk. Why haven't they done that yet?
It bothers me, man. It really does bother me. I wish he would have went to WWE, but
me too. How weird is that? That we're wishing somebody went to WWE over AEW. If this was a couple of years ago, I'd be like, hell no, man, go to AEW. Yeah, it's like I want him. I want some of these guys in AEW to move on to WWE. I
just want to know. Give Jay White a microphone. I just want to know if Jay White's going to sell me a timeshare. Because if he's going to sell me a timeshare, I'm buying in 1,000%.
Sure he can. I'm sure he could sell you on anything.
All right, I think that's it. I think we talked about everything we needed to talk about this week. Ryan, give me your plugs in.
Lucha Outsiders on Twitter. Like I mentioned before, I've been staying off of it for a little while here and there. I mean, I go on every now and then. I don't really retweet or like a lot of stuff, but yeah, give it a follow if you haven't already. Maybe, one of these shows I'll hop back on and live tweet, or, anything I end up attending, I'll be putting pictures up for. And, I know you're headed to Double or Nothing in a couple of weeks. So, maybe I'll grab some of the pictures from the Instagram, and I'll tweet them out, and just try and beef up this content on here. So I'm trying, but yeah, at LuchaOutsiders on Twitter if you haven't followed already.
Leo, the old man.
LosRadio.com.
That was very simple and very
efficient.
Very, very soothing the way you said it.
Yes.
All right. Follow us at Lucha Outsiders everywhere, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You can follow me at Rated R since '87. If you missed anything or everything on today's episode, make sure you download and subscribe to the podcast version of the show. iTunes, SoundCloud, You Want to Be Fancy, Apple Podcasts, tune in La Mezcla app, LosRadio.com, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you get your podcast needs. Also, hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel. We upgraded it just a tad bit. It does look better. We deleted some of the old crap that was on there.
A lot of the old crap.
A lot of the old crap last week, but we changed the graphic. It's looking pretty profesh. So we're getting there. Just give us time, people. We'll start putting more and more stuff on there. Also, on some house cleaning news, next week is Mother's Day, so there will be no show. Okay? So we'll see you guys in 2 weeks because we have lives and
mothers
and moms, and Leo has a wife and 1,000 kids. So, yeah.
Don't remind me.
Okay. All right. For the old man, Leo.
Yeah.
For our double Ryan Radar, I am yours truly, Mr. Rated R. Till next time, keep it Rated R. Stay too sweet.
And good night, bed.